Every time you give in to fear, you make yourself smaller. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you make yourself weaker. And every time you let doubt silence your potential, you step further away from the person you were meant to become. Strength isn't built in one day. It's built in the silent moments when no one is watching. When you decide to keep going, to keep fighting, and to keep believing, even when the world gives you every reason to quit. You see, weakness doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's something we allow to grow inside us when we stop challenging ourselves, when we stop saying, "I can." When we stop standing up for our dreams because we're afraid of falling again. But life has never rewarded those who stay comfortable. Life rewards the ones who push back, who rise every time they fall, who walk through fear, and who never let temporary pain define permanent potential. There's a moment in every person's life when they realize that no one is coming to save them. That moment can either destroy you or awaken you. Some people crumble under its weight, others use it as the fire that forges their strength. The truth is, every strong person you admire has faced the same storms. They just decided not to surrender. They cried. They struggled. They doubted themselves. But when life whispered, "You can't," they answered, "Watch me." That's the difference between the weak and the strong. The weak surrender to emotion. The strong channel it into purpose. The weak complain about the pain. The strong use the pain as proof they're still fighting. So ask yourself, when things get hard, do you shrink or do you rise? Because every single time you choose to rise, you take power away from your weakness. There's a story of a young athlete who once said, "I'll train when I feel motivated." He waited days, then weeks, then months, until one day he realized motivation never came. What came instead was regret. That's when he learned the secret of strength. You don't wait to feel ready, you move anyway. The most successful people in the world don't always wake up inspired. They wake up disciplined. They do what must be done even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's boring, even when their heart says stop, because they know that discipline is the bridge between weakness and power. Your emotions can betray you, but discipline never will. Every time you push through the resistance, you strengthen the muscle of your mind. You teach yourself that you are capable of far more than you think. Weakness grows in silence, in comfort, in the small excuses we whisper to ourselves. "I'll start tomorrow." "I'm not good enough." "I can't handle it." But every time you repeat those words, you feed the very thing that's holding you down. So here's the truth. Stop making yourself weak with your own thoughts. Stop calling yourself less than what you are. Stop convincing yourself that your dreams are too big or your pain too heavy. The world doesn't need another person who gives up too soon. The world needs you, the strong, focused, unstoppable version of you, the one who dares to keep walking when the path is uphill, the one who fights for their peace, their growth, and their future. Think about it. Every breakthrough begins with a decision. A decision to no longer be a victim. A decision to stop blaming others. A decision to take back control. You can't control what happens around you, but you can control how you respond to it. That's where your real power lies. You either react with fear or you respond with faith. You either surrender to pain or you grow from it. Every choice is a seed. Every thought you nurture shapes your reality. Weakness fades the moment you stop feeding it. There was once a woman who lost everything. Her job, her home, her sense of direction. She spent months drowning in self-pity until one morning, she looked in the mirror and said, "If no one's coming to fix my life, then I will." She took a deep breath, walked out the door and started over. One step, one job, one choice at a time. Years later, she stood on a stage telling her story. Not as a victim, but as a victor. What changed? Not her circumstances, but her decision to stop making herself weak. That's the power you hold right now. You can decide to start again, to rebuild your confidence, to rewrite your story, to reclaim your life. You don't need permission. You just need courage. The greatest battle you'll ever fight is not with the world. It's with your own mind. Your thoughts can either build you or break you. So feed your strength. Starve your weakness. When your mind says, "I can't," say, "I will." When life feels unfair, remind yourself, "I've survived worse." You are stronger than your excuses. You are greater than your fears. You are capable of more than your past. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for someone to validate your worth. Stop waiting for strength to appear. Create it. Strength doesn't come from what you can already handle. It comes from what you thought would break you, but didn't. Every time you stand up for yourself, you become stronger. Every time you keep going after failure, you become wiser. Every time you forgive and move forward, you become freer. That's how strength grows, not in perfection, but in persistence. So the next time life tests you, remember it's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to develop you. Every challenge is preparing you for a version of yourself that you haven't met yet. A version that's fearless, grounded, and unstoppable. If you're listening to this, it means you're ready. Ready to stop giving your power away. Ready to stop hiding behind your fears. Ready to start living as the person you were created to be. It won't be easy, but that's the point. Growth was never meant to be easy. It was meant to be transformational. So stop making yourself weak by choosing the easy path. Choose the path that makes you grow. Choose the one that demands your courage, your patience, and your faith. That's where your real life begins. The next time you look in the mirror, don't see the version of you that failed. See the version that refused to quit. The version that's learning, growing, and rising stronger each day. You've carried enough doubt. You've played small for too long. The time to rise is now, not tomorrow, not someday. Now, because the strongest version of you is waiting on the other side of your excuses. And remember this, strength is not about never falling. It's about never staying down. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's choosing to move forward despite it, and success is not reserved for the lucky. It's earned by those who keep going when others stop. So from this moment on, stop making yourself weak, start making yourself unstoppable. Strength begins in the mind. Long before you see it in your body, in your work, or in your achievements, it takes shape quietly within your thoughts. Every decision, every response, every success you ever experience begins with what happens inside your mind. Your thoughts are the architects of your reality, and every strong person you've ever admired started by mastering the dialogue within. The truth is, no matter how talented, capable, or gifted you are, you cannot rise above the limitations you've set in your own head. When your thoughts are filled with fear, self-doubt, and hesitation, you begin to shrink before life even challenges you. You convince yourself that the mountain is too high, that the goal is too far, and that maybe you're not meant to achieve it. But strength doesn't come from certainty. It comes from belief. It begins when you tell yourself, I can, even when nothing around you gives you proof that you can. The mind has an extraordinary ability to shape perception. If you train it to see obstacles as opportunities, you'll never see yourself as powerless again. Think about the moments when you've been close to giving up. The battle wasn't physical. It wasn't about energy, time, or talent. It was about what your mind whispered to you in that moment. If that voice said, "You're not enough," your body followed. But if that voice said, "Keep going," somehow you found more strength than you thought existed. That's the power of mental conditioning, the invisible training that determines how you show up in every area of your life. Your mind can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. It's not life that decides that you do. You can choose to use your mind as a weapon for progress or a prison for limitation. Too often, people build walls inside their heads before the world ever builds them outside. They imagine rejection before it happens. They assume failure before they even begin. They surrender to fear before giving courage a chance to speak. And slowly, they start to live smaller lives, not because they aren't capable, but because they never learned how to win the battle within. Mental strength doesn't mean pretending that fear doesn't exist. It means refusing to let fear control your choices. It's the quiet confidence that says, even if I'm scared, I'm still moving forward. It's the ability to take a hit, to feel pain, to doubt yourself, and yet continue to act. That's where true strength begins, not in the absence of fear, but in the decision to rise above it. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every thought you plant grows into something real. Some thoughts bloom into courage, discipline, and hope. Others grow into anxiety, hesitation, and weakness. The more you water a thought, the more it spreads through every corner of your life. That's why awareness is power. You have to pay attention to what you're feeding yourself mentally. Are you nurturing strength or feeding fear? Are you repeating words of possibility or replaying stories of defeat? Every single day, you're training your mind for something, whether you realize it or not. When you wake up, your thoughts are the first things that greet you. Before the world says a word, your mind decides the tone of your day. It tells you what's possible, what's worth trying, and what's too hard. Most people don't question that voice. They accept it as truth. But strong individuals know better. They understand that thoughts are not facts, they're habits, and habits can be changed. You can rewrite the narrative in your head. You can shift from, "I can't handle this," to, "This is making me stronger." From, "I'm not ready," to, "I'll learn as I go." That shift changes everything, because it doesn't just change your mood, it changes your identity. Strength in the mind is not about constant positivity. It's about stability. It's about building an inner foundation so solid that external chaos can't break it. You start developing that foundation by catching your negative thoughts before they grow roots. Replace self-criticism with self-direction. Replace comparison with focus. Replace "what if I fail" with "what if I succeed." These subtle rewrites are the mental repetitions that forge resilience. There's a reason world-class athletes, leaders, and visionaries spend as much time training their minds as they do their craft. They know that the body follows the mind. When your belief system expands, your capabilities expand with it. What once seemed impossible starts to feel inevitable. When you begin to see yourself as powerful, you begin to act in alignment with that power. The mind leads, and everything else follows. Sometimes, strength begins with a single decision to stop doubting yourself. You may not control every thought that enters your mind, but you do control which ones you entertain. When a negative thought knocks on the door, you can choose not to invite it in. You can choose to replace it with something stronger, something that moves you forward. Over time, that choice becomes your greatest advantage, because every repetition of courage builds the habit of resilience. Your environment can challenge you, your past can test you, but your mind defines you. Every time you choose faith over fear, every time you respond with focus instead of frustration, you strengthen the mental armor that carries you through life. True confidence doesn't come from perfect outcomes, it comes from mastering your inner dialogue. When your mind is disciplined, no setback can shake you for long. So the next time doubt creeps in, remember that your thoughts are not commands. They're suggestions. You have the power to choose which ones lead your life. Strength doesn't begin when the world applauds you. It begins the moment you decide to think like someone who refuses to give up. When your thoughts become aligned with your purpose, the impossible starts to bend in your direction. That's where the journey of real strength begins. Not outside, but deep within the mind that believes it's possible. Motivation is powerful, but it's fleeting. It arrives like a spark, bright, emotional, and full of promise. But if you depend on it alone, you'll never build anything that lasts. Discipline, on the other hand, is steady. It's quiet, consistent, and dependable. It doesn't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, or the perfect circumstance. It shows up every day, whether you feel like it or not. That's why discipline is stronger than motivation. Motivation might start the journey, but discipline is what carries you across the finish line. When you rely on motivation, you become a prisoner of your emotions. Some days you'll wake up ready to conquer the world, but other days you'll feel tired, unmotivated, or uncertain. And if you only act when you feel good, your progress will always be inconsistent. The truth is, feelings are unreliable. They shift with weather, circumstance, and mood. Discipline doesn't care about feelings. It's built on decision. It's a promise you make to yourself that you keep no matter what. Every successful person you've ever admired understands this truth. Athletes don't always want to train at 5 a.m., but they do it. Writers don't always feel inspired, but they write. Entrepreneurs don't always feel confident, but they keep building anyway. They've learned that waiting to feel ready is the fastest way to stay stuck. They act, not because they're motivated, but because they're committed. Discipline is a form of self-respect. It's how you prove to yourself that your goals matter more than your moods. Every time you follow through on a promise to yourself. Whether it's finishing a workout, studying when you'd rather scroll your phone, or saving money instead of spending impulsively, you're building trust with yourself. And that trust becomes unshakable confidence. You start to believe in your own word. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who can be counted on. That belief is priceless, because once you trust yourself, you no longer need external validation to keep going. The power of discipline lies in repetition. Every time you show up, even in small ways, you're reinforcing the identity of a strong, consistent person. Each repetition is a declaration that says, "I'm not controlled by excuses." At first, it's uncomfortable. You'll feel resistance every step of the way. Your mind will search for ways out. "I'll do it tomorrow." "I'm too tired." "It doesn't really matter today." But the difference between the average and the exceptional is simple. The exceptional don't negotiate with their excuses. They act anyway. There's a quiet dignity in showing up when no one else does. That's where true character is built. When you're tired, when no one's watching, when the reward feels far away. Those are the moments that define you. Discipline is forged in silence, in those private battles between who you are and who you want to become. And every time you choose to act instead of waiting for motivation, you strengthen that bridge between the two. Think about this. Motivation asks, "Do I feel like it?" Discipline says, "It doesn't matter." Motivation relies on emotion. Discipline relies on principle. Emotion is unpredictable. Principle is consistent. That's why disciplined people accomplish what others only talk about. They understand that small daily actions, performed consistently, create extraordinary results over time. It's not the intensity of one great effort that transforms you. It's the persistence of countless small ones. If you want to change your life, start with structure. Set standards that you refuse to lower, no matter how you feel. Discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom. Freedom from chaos, from inconsistency, from regret. When you live with discipline, you stop wasting energy deciding whether or not to act. You've already decided. Your energy goes into doing, not debating. In a world that glorifies comfort and instant gratification, discipline is rare. Most people give up at the first sign of discomfort, not realizing that discomfort is the doorway to growth. Every time you push through resistance, you expand your capacity to handle more. The person who trains their body to move when it's tired, their mind to focus when it's distracted, their heart to stay steady when it's discouraged, that person becomes unstoppable. It's easy to be motivated when everything is going right. It's easy to work hard when you're seeing results. But discipline is what keeps you moving when results are invisible. It's what keeps you steady when progress feels slow and success feels far away. That's why it's so powerful. It's not emotional, it's intentional. Discipline doesn't depend on external validation, it depends on internal alignment. It's the decision to keep doing what's necessary because your future is worth it. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're telling the world, "I'm serious about who I'm becoming." You're planting seeds of success that will grow long after the feeling of motivation fades. And eventually, something beautiful happens. You stop needing to push yourself as hard because discipline becomes who you are. It becomes natural to act in alignment with your goals, to keep promises to yourself, to finish what you start. That's not luck. That's training. So, when the excitement fades and the noise quiets, ask yourself, will I still show up? Will I still move forward when no one is cheering? Because that's where real strength lies, in the silent consistency of a disciplined life. Motivation may inspire you, but discipline transforms you. It builds habits that outlast emotion, confidence that outlasts failure, and character that outlasts time. When you master discipline, you no longer wait for the perfect moment. You create it, one consistent action at a time. Pain is one of life's greatest teachers. It's the force that breaks you open so that strength can be built inside you. No one escapes it. Everyone faces it in different forms. Loss, failure, rejection, disappointment, or the quiet ache of feeling unseen. And yet, what separates the broken from the unbreakable is not the absence of pain, but the way they use it. Those who grow from their pain understand that it's not their enemy. It's the raw material of power. Pain doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to reshape you. Every time you go through something difficult, life is asking you a question. Will you let this harden you, or will you let it build you? That question defines who you become. Some people let pain silence them. They retreat, they stop believing, they shrink. But others choose to face it head-on. They understand that if it's here, it must have a purpose, and that purpose is growth. Every scar tells a story not of defeat, but of survival. Each one is proof that you endured something that once felt impossible. And you're still standing. Think of the times you've been tested. The heartbreaks that left you breathless. The failures that made you doubt yourself. The losses that changed everything. You didn't know it then, but those moments were shaping your character. They were teaching you resilience, patience, humility, and gratitude. Pain has a way of stripping away everything superficial until all that's left is truth. It shows you what really matters, who truly cares, and how strong you've always been. You cannot build a meaningful life without going through discomfort. Growth and pain are inseparable. Every great achievement in human history was born from struggle. The athlete pushes through exhaustion. The artist wrestles with doubt. The entrepreneur faces failure after failure before success finally arrives. They all understand that pain is not a punishment. It's a process. A sculptor cannot shape marble without chipping pieces away. In the same way, life cannot reveal your strength without removing your comfort. Most people spend their lives running from pain. They avoid hard conversations, uncomfortable challenges, and anything that threatens their peace of mind. But peace that is built on avoidance is fragile. It shatters the moment life tests it. True peace comes from knowing you can handle whatever comes your way, and that confidence is born from the fires of experience. When you've been through the worst and survived, you begin to realize there's nothing left to fear. Pain refines you. It exposes weakness not to humiliate you, but to give you the opportunity to strengthen it. It burns away illusions of control and forces you to focus on what you can actually change. Your response. That's where your power lies. You may not control the storm, but you can control how you stand in it. Some days, that means taking a single step forward. Other days, it means simply refusing to give up. But either way, the act of enduring builds something deep inside you. A quiet, steady resilience that becomes your foundation. When life hurts, it's easy to ask, why me? But a better question is, what is this trying to teach me? There's always a lesson hidden in hardship if you're willing to look for it. Pain teaches empathy because when you've suffered, you understand others more deeply. It teaches discipline because surviving requires focus and perseverance. It teaches faith because you learn to trust that there's meaning in the struggle. Even when you can't see it yet, every difficult season carries within it a seed of wisdom that will serve you later in ways you can't imagine right now. At first, Pain feels like it's tearing you apart. But eventually, it reveals a part of you that's unshakable. The version of you that endures hardship is not the same as the one who entered it. You emerge stronger, clearer, and more grounded. Pain doesn't make you weaker. It exposes your capacity for strength. Every moment you've thought you couldn't handle something, and still did, has expanded your threshold for what's possible. That's how power is built. Quietly through endurance. There's a reason why some of the most compassionate, wise, and powerful people have suffered deeply. They've faced darkness and refused to let it define them. Instead, they turned their pain into purpose. They used their experiences to uplift others, to create, to lead, to love more fully. When you transform your pain into growth, you not only heal yourself, you become a source of healing for others. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Suffering is what happens when you resist what's happening, when you fight reality instead of learning from it. The moment you stop asking life to be easy and start asking to be stronger, everything changes. You stop feeling like a victim and start acting like a creator. You start using the energy of your pain to build something new. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about acknowledging the hurt and choosing to rise anyway. Power is not born in comfort. It's born in endurance, in the quiet decision to stand tall in the storm and say, "This will not break me." Because the truth is, it never does. The pain you thought would destroy you ends up revealing who you really are. The storms that shook you are the same ones that strengthened your roots. And one day, you'll look back on everything that hurt and realize it didn't take your power. It gave it to you. The pain that once felt unbearable became the force that shaped your resilience, sharpened your vision, and deepened your soul. You'll see that every tear, every failure, every sleepless night was part of the process of becoming someone unshakable. That's how pain transforms into power. Not in the moment you avoid it, but in the moment you face it and decide to keep moving forward. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. The small, deliberate choices you make every day that align with your vision, even when motivation fades. Motivation might get you started, but discipline keeps you moving when everything in you wants to stop. It's the quiet force that transforms intentions into reality. You don't need to feel inspired every day, but you do need to stay committed. Discipline is the difference between a life of excuses and a life of progress. Most people wait to feel ready before they take action, but readiness is a myth. You're never fully prepared to begin something difficult. Discipline doesn't ask whether you feel like it. It simply reminds you of what you said you'd do. It's a promise to yourself, kept again and again, until it becomes part of your identity. Every act of discipline strengthens your self-trust, and that trust becomes your greatest source of confidence. When you know you can rely on yourself, no challenge feels too big. Think about the times you made progress in your life. It wasn't luck or bursts of motivation. It was the mornings you showed up tired, the nights you kept working when no one was watching, the moments you chose growth over comfort. Those moments define you far more than any single success ever could. Discipline is built through repetition, through showing up when it's hard, through doing what's necessary even when it's not exciting. And every time you choose discipline over distraction, You cast a vote for the future version of yourself. There's a misconception that discipline means living a rigid, joyless life. In truth, it's the opposite. Discipline creates freedom. The freedom to pursue what matters without being controlled by impulse. The freedom to move toward your goals without being dragged down by procrastination, fear, or self-doubt. When you build discipline, you take back control of your time, your habits, and your focus. Instead of reacting to life, you start leading it. That's real power. Knowing you can direct your energy where it counts. The human mind loves comfort, but growth never happens there. Discipline is the force that pulls you out of comfort and into growth. It's the reason you wake up early to chase your dreams instead of hitting the snooze button. It's the reason you stay consistent with your habits even when progress feels slow. Because you understand that slow progress is still progress, and every small step compounds over time. The disciplined person doesn't need instant results to keep going. They trust the process. Discipline isn't about intensity, it's about endurance. Anyone can give their best for a day. But can you stay committed when the excitement fades? Can you stay patient when results don't come right away? That's where true strength is tested. The disciplined mind understands that time is an ally, not an enemy. Every repetition, every small effort, is a brick laid toward something greater. The work you do today might not show tomorrow, but it builds the foundation that will hold your success later. There will be days when your mind tries to convince you to quit. It will whisper, "Take it easy. Do it later. You deserve a break." That's when discipline speaks louder. Discipline doesn't negotiate. It remembers your purpose. It reminds you that every choice either moves you closer to your goals or further away from them. Each decision matters. Each act of effort strengthens the muscle of persistence. Discipline is not a punishment. It's self-respect in action. It's the daily declaration that you refuse to settle for less than you're capable of. The truth is, most people never reach their potential not because they lack talent, but because they lack consistency. Talent might open doors, but discipline keeps them open. It's easy to be inspired by others' success, but what you don't see is the unglamorous side. The early mornings, the failures, the persistence when no one believed. That's discipline at work. Success is rarely about grand moments of brilliance. It's about the quiet repetition of good habits sustained over time. Discipline also requires honesty with yourself and your actions. It means taking responsibility for your choices instead of blaming circumstances. It means recognizing that your habits shape your destiny. If your life feels stuck, it's not because you lack opportunity. It's because your discipline hasn't caught up with your ambition. The moment you decide to take control, to show up with consistency, to focus with intention, you begin to change the trajectory of your life. It's easy to admire discipline in others, but the real power comes when you apply it to your own journey. It's waking up and following through on what you promised yourself, even when no one else cares. It's showing restraint when the easier path tempts you. It's doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. Because those moments define who you truly are. Discipline is the quiet backbone of greatness. The world may not applaud your efforts now, but the results will speak for themselves. And one day, you'll look back and realize discipline didn't just help you reach your goals. It changed who you became. It taught you patience, perseverance, and power. It showed you that you're capable of far more than you imagined. You'll see that every act of self-control was not a restriction, but a release. The release of your true potential. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It is the path to it. The more you master yourself, the more limitless your life becomes. Life has a way of testing us in moments we least expect. The truth is, every challenge that enters your path is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to reveal you. When you're faced with obstacles, it's easy to believe that life is unfair, that somehow the struggle is a punishment. But what if it's not? What if every difficulty is shaping you into someone more capable, more resilient, more powerful than you were before? Growth doesn't happen when things are easy. Growth happens when you're stretched beyond your limits, when you're forced to dig deeper than you ever thought possible. The strongest people you know are not those who avoided pain. They are the ones who faced it head-on. They didn't crumble under pressure. They allowed it to forge them into something greater. Every storm you've survived, every setback you've endured, every moment that broke you a little also built you in ways you couldn't see at the time. Challenges are silent teachers. They strip away what's unnecessary and show you what truly matters. They expose your weaknesses not to shame you, but to strengthen you. You can't improve what you don't confront. When you face a challenge, your mind often whispers, "This is too much." But your spirit knows otherwise. Deep within you, there's a power that only hardship can awaken. That's why the people who grow the most are usually the ones who've faced the hardest battles. Comfort doesn't shape character. Struggle does. Every time life pushes you to your edge, you discover that your edge is further than you imagined. What once seemed impossible becomes manageable, and what was once painful becomes purposeful. Think back to a moment when you overcame something you thought you couldn't. Remember how heavy it felt at first, how endless the weight seemed. And yet, here you are. You survived it. You didn't just survive, you evolved. That's what challenges do. They expand your capacity. They turn endurance into strength and fear into courage. You may not notice it while you're in the storm, but every moment you keep going, every step you take forward, is rewriting who you are. It's tempting to wish for an easier life, but an easier life rarely creates greatness. Every obstacle is an invitation to rise, to adapt, to grow. The problem is not the presence of challenges, it's the way we perceive them. When you see them as burdens, they break you. When you see them as opportunities, they build you. The same mountain that blocks your view can also give you a higher perspective if you choose to climb it. Life's most defining moments often come disguised as difficulties. You lose something you thought you couldn't live without, and in that loss, you discover your strength. You're forced to start over when you least expect it, and that beginning becomes the path to your true purpose. Every challenge carries a message. One that says, you're ready for more. If life didn't believe you could handle it, it wouldn't have sent it your way. Sometimes, challenges come not to test your power, but to reveal it. When you face failure, rejection, or disappointment, it's easy to shrink. But if you look deeper, you'll see that every difficulty is preparing you for something ahead. Maybe the delay is building your patience. Maybe the failure is refining your approach. Maybe the hardship is hardening your resolve. The most meaningful victories are rarely handed to you. They're earned through persistence and pain. There's a point in every struggle where most people give up, not because they're incapable, but because they can't see progress yet. But that's exactly when progress is being made. Beneath the surface. Strength doesn't shout. It grows quietly in moments of perseverance, when you choose to keep going with no applause, no recognition, no visible results. Every time you endure, you're developing qualities that success requires: focus, resilience, humility, patience. These traits can't be learned through comfort. They're forged through resistance. It's also important to remember that not every challenge is external. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones you fight within. Overcoming self-doubt, fear, guilt, or insecurity. Those inner struggles are just as valid, just as shaping. The courage it takes to confront your own weaknesses, to break old habits, to heal from the past. That's real strength. It's easy to fight the world, it's harder to face yourself. But when you do, everything changes. Every challenge you encounter holds a mirror to your potential. You can choose to see it as an obstacle or as a calling. The choice determines what you become. The people who rise above their circumstances are not superhuman. They're simply the ones who decide that failure won't have the final word. They use adversity as fuel. They channel pain into purpose. They take what was meant to break them and turn it into a reason to build something stronger. So, when life gets hard, and it will, remember that you are not being broken. You are being built. You are being shaped for something greater, something that requires this exact version of strength. The struggle you face today may be the foundation for someone else's inspiration tomorrow. And when you finally reach the other side of your hardship, you'll see that it wasn't just about surviving. It was about becoming. Every challenge, every setback, every test is a reminder that your power was never lost. It was waiting for you to find it again. Strength is not a single decision, it's a daily practice. It's the quiet, unseen commitment you make each morning when you wake up and choose not to give in to the weight of doubt or fatigue. It's the choice to keep moving, even when the world feels heavy. Strength isn't something you find once and keep forever. It's something you build, one decision at a time. Every day gives you another chance to rise above what held you back yesterday. Every morning is a new beginning, an opportunity to decide again who you want to be. There are moments when life will test your endurance. When motivation fades and progress seems invisible, your mind will whisper, "Why bother?" But that's exactly when your choice matters most. True strength doesn't show up when everything is easy. It shows up when everything inside you wants to stop. The people who rise above aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who keep choosing strength. In the middle of it, they don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect feeling. They act on principle, not emotion. That's the difference between living by reaction and living by intention. Every day you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to comfort, the other to growth. Comfort feels safe. It asks for nothing but gives nothing in return. Growth, on the other hand, demands everything: your focus, your patience, your resilience. Choosing strength means taking the harder path, not because it's easy, but because it's right. It's knowing that comfort will give you rest, but challenge will give you meaning. And meaning is what keeps your spirit alive. Strength is not loud. It's not always visible to others. It doesn't always look like success or power. Sometimes, Strength looks like getting out of bed when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes it looks like forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it. Sometimes it's saying no when everything in you wants to say yes just to keep the peace. Real strength is internal. It's the quiet determination to do what's right even when no one's watching. It's the courage to stay kind in a world that often isn't. Each choice you make adds up. The small decisions, the ones that seem insignificant, build the foundation of your character. When you choose to stay consistent, to push forward, to stay patient, you're training your mind to be unshakable. Strength is like a muscle. It grows through resistance. The more you challenge yourself, the more capable you become. Over time, you begin to realize that strength is not about avoiding weakness. It's about refusing to let it define you. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel tired and still show up. You can feel doubt and still take action. That's what makes you powerful. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Other days you'll barely feel like you're holding it together. That's okay. Strength is not about never falling. It's about never staying down. Each time you rise, you become more resilient. Each setback teaches you something valuable. The process of becoming strong is not about perfection. It's about persistence. You will stumble. You will question yourself. But the key is to keep showing up. The act of trying again and again transforms you. There's a certain beauty in choosing strength every day, even when it goes unnoticed. The world may not applaud your effort, but the universe always rewards consistency. Every time you choose strength, you build momentum. You train your mind to focus on solutions instead of problems, possibilities instead of limitations. Strength is not something you wait for. It's something you practice. You build it through daily habits, through the discipline to keep your word to yourself, through the humility to learn from failure, without letting it define your worth. It's easy to be strong when life is smooth. The real test comes when things fall apart, when people disappoint you, when your plans collapse and nothing makes sense. That's when strength becomes more than a word. It becomes your anchor. When the noise of the world gets too loud, strength helps you return to yourself. It reminds you that storms pass, but character remains. That even when you lose everything else, you still have the power to decide who you'll be in that moment. Every choice to be strong is an act of self-respect. It's saying to yourself, I am capable of more than this moment of weakness. When you choose strength, you begin to build a relationship with yourself based on trust. You start believing in your ability to handle life, not because it's easy, but because you've proven to yourself that you can endure. And when you trust yourself, fear loses its control over you. You become grounded, calm, and unshakable, not because life stops being hard, but because you've learned how to stand tall in the middle of it. Choosing strength every day means you stop letting temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions. You stop waiting for ideal circumstances and start creating progress right where you are. You realize that every time you choose resilience over retreat, courage over comfort, you move closer to your best self. Strength becomes your default setting, not something you chase, but something you live. It's not about being fearless. It's about moving forward despite the fear. Over time, the habit of choosing strength transforms your life. You begin to notice that things that once broke you now barely shake you. Challenges that once felt impossible now feel like opportunities. You no longer measure your worth by what happens to you, but by how you respond. You understand that strength is not about never feeling pain, it's about knowing pain can't stop you. Each sunrise gives you a new chance to prove it, to choose strength again and again until it becomes who you are. This is Wisdom in Minutes Audiobooks, reminding you that strength is a decision you make every day. Choose strength, live with purpose, and never ever forget, your power begins the moment you stop making yourself weak.